Commander Jack Reed stood at the viewport of Lunar Base Alpha, watching Earth burn. Columns of smoke rose from cities across North America, visible even from orbit. The alien armada had arrived without warning 3 days ago, their strange crystalline vessels descending through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. "Status report," Jack demanded, his voice steady despite the horror unfolding before him. Lieutenant Anna Wilson approached, her face grim. "Sir, we've lost contact with the last remaining military bases in Europe. The Vex have established control over 78% of Earth's surface." Jack clenched his jaw. The Vex, that's what humans had taken to calling them after intercepting fragments of their communications. An ancient species that traveled between galaxies, harvesting resources and eliminating indigenous populations. Humanity had fought back with everything they had, but conventional weapons barely scratched the alien vessels. "What about Project Obsidian?" Jack asked. Anna's eyes flickered with a hint of hope. "Dr. Marcus reports they're ready for the final power-up sequence. The ship is operational." Project Obsidian had been humanity's best-kept secret for the past decade. Hidden beneath the lunar surface was humanity's contingency plan. A ship unlike any other, designed with reverse-engineered technology from a crashed alien scout vessel, discovered in the Arctic 50 years earlier. The Black Ship, as the crew called it, represented humanity's last hope. Jack nodded. "Tell Dr. Marcus I'm on my way. And Anna, begin the evacuation protocol for all remaining personnel." "Sir?" Anna's eyes widened. "You're not suggesting we're abandoning the base," Jack confirmed. "Everyone who can fit on the Black Ship is leaving with us. The rest will take the emergency shuttles to the Mars colony." As Jack made his way through the corridors of Lunar Base Alpha, he passed hundreds of desperate faces. Scientists, engineers, military personnel, the last fragments of uncaptured human expertise. The base had been designed to house 500 people. Currently, it held over 2,000 refugees who had escaped Earth before the Vex blocked all outgoing spacecraft. Dr. Marcus awaited him in the massive underground hangar that housed the Black Ship. The vessel lived up to its name, a sleek obsidian hull that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Unlike the boxy utilitarian designs of standard human spacecraft, the Black Ship featured elegant flowing lines that hinted at its hybrid human-alien engineering. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Dr. Marcus said, his aged face lighting up despite the circumstances. "We've finally integrated the gravitational drive. Theoretical speeds are, well, beyond anything humanity has achieved before." Jack stared at the ship with a mixture of awe and grim determination. "Will it be enough to escape them?" "Perhaps," Marcus replied. "But more importantly, it might be enough to fight back." The scientist led Jack into the ship's interior, where crew members were making final preparations. The bridge featured a semicircular design with neural interface stations instead of traditional controls. At the center stood the captain's platform, surrounded by holographic displays. "We've loaded the ship with everything we could salvage," Marcus explained. "Manufacturing modules, genetic repositories, cultural archives. If Earth falls completely, this ship carries the seeds of humanity's future." Jack stepped onto the captain's platform, feeling the neural interfaces reach out to his mind. The ship responded instantly, systems lighting up around him. "How many can we evacuate?" he asked. 300, Marcus replied. "We've selected the best minds from every field. The rest will head to Mars on conventional shuttles." Jack closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of the decision. 300 people to preserve humanity's knowledge, skills, and hope among the stars. "The Vex ships are changing course." Anna's voice came through the comm system. 5 vessels, breaking from Earth orbit. They're heading toward the moon. Jack opened his eyes. "They've detected us. Begin immediate launch sequence." Alarms blared throughout the base as the final evacuation commenced. Jack watched the readouts as refugees rushed aboard the Black Ship, while others raced for the emergency shuttles. As the ceiling of the lunar hangar retracted, revealing the star-filled sky above, Jack felt the ship's systems fully integrate with his consciousness. For the first time in days, he felt something beyond despair. The Black Ship would rise, and humanity would not go quietly into extinction. The Black Ship erupted from the lunar surface in a plume of dust and rock. Unlike conventional rockets with their fiery propulsion, the ship rose silently, riding gravitational waves that rippled invisibly through space. Below them, the remaining evacuation shuttles launched in rapid succession, streaking toward Mars. On the bridge, Jack felt every system of the ship as extensions of his own body, the neural interface transforming him into something more than just a captain. Beside him, Dr. Marcus monitored the integration. Neural sync at 87%, he reported, higher than we ever achieved in simulations. The Vex ships are adjusting course to intercept, Anna announced from the tactical station. 5 minutes until contact. Jack closed his eyes, focusing on the ship's defensive systems. Activate the displacement field. The black ship shimmered as light bent around its hull, rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. This technology had been the most difficult to reverse engineer from the crashed alien vessel, a method of manipulating electromagnetic waves to create a form of optical camouflage. Field holding at 92% effectiveness, Dr. Marcus said, his voice tight with tension. But it's draining power faster than anticipated. Through the viewports, they watched as the 5 crystalline Vex ships changed formation, spreading out in a search pattern. The aliens had lost visual contact but were still tracking them through other means. They're using gravitational sensors, said engineer Tom Reeves, hunched over his console. They can detect our drive signature. Jack felt a bead of sweat run down his temple as he focused harder on the neural interface. Initiating emergency protocol Theta 9. The ship's artificial intelligence responded immediately, shutting down all non-essential systems and redirecting power to the experimental technology that made the black ship unique. Inside the vessel's core, exotic particles began to swirl, in carefully controlled patterns. "What are you doing?" Dr. Marcus asked, alarmed. "We haven't tested the phase drive outside simulations." "We don't have a choice," Jack replied. "Prepare for phase shift in 30 seconds. The Vex ships were closing in, their crystalline structures glowing with accumulated energy. The first attack came as a pulse of blinding blue light that narrowly missed the black ship. "They've acquired targeting," Anna shouted. "All crew, brace for phase shift," Jack announced shipwide. "We have no data on how this will feel." The countdown reached 0, and Jack released the mental command that activated the phase drive. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to wrinkle around them. Stars smeared into lines, and the bridge filled with an eerie blue light as the ship slipped sideways through dimensions, becoming momentarily out of sync with normal space-time. The sensation that hit the crew was indescribable, a feeling of being stretched and compressed simultaneously. Several crew members cried out, and alarms blared across multiple stations, and then abruptly, they were elsewhere. Normal space rushing back like a splash of cold water. The stars realigned, but in an unfamiliar configuration. The Vex ships were nowhere to be seen. "Status report," Jack gasped, fighting through the disorientation. Anna struggled to focus on her readouts. "Phase shift successful, no sign of pursuit, but, sir, we've jumped much farther than intended." Dr. Marcus was staring at the navigation display in disbelief. "That's impossible. We're over 5 light-years from Earth. The drive was calibrated for a jump of less than 1 astronomical unit." "Where exactly are we?" Jack asked, a sense of dread forming in his gut. Tom pulled up the stellar cartography system, comparing the star patterns with known maps. "We're somewhere at the edge of the Alpha Centauri system. The phase jump was exponentially more powerful than our calculations predicted." Jack stared at the unfamiliar stars. 5 light-years in an instant. They had accidentally accomplished what humanity had dreamed of for centuries. But at what cost? Were they now hopelessly separated from the rest of human civilization? "Life support is stable," reported Dr. Eliza Morgan from the Environmental Control Station. "But the phase drive is completely drained. Crystal matrices show microfractures throughout. We'll need significant repairs before attempting another jump." Jack leaned heavily against the captain's platform. "What about the Mars evacuation shuttles? Can we contact them?" Anna shook her head. "Conventional communications won't reach across light years. We're effectively cut off. 300 souls aboard the black ship, now possibly the only free humans in existence, marooned at the edge of a distant star system with experimental technology they barely understood. "Begin full systems diagnostic," Jack ordered. Doctor, Marcus, assemble a team to assess the phase drive damage. Tom, start scanning for habitable planets or asteroids with mining potential. We need resources. As the crew mobilized, Jack pulled up the ship's long-range sensors, pointing them back toward the Sol system. Though they couldn't see Earth from this distance, he found himself staring in that direction anyway, wondering if humanity still existed there or if the Vex had already completed their harvest. We'll find a way back, he whispered to himself, and when we do, we'll be ready for them. 3 weeks passed aboard the black ship as it drifted through the Alpha Centauri system. The crew had settled into routines, transforming the vessel from a desperate escape craft into a functioning home. Hydroponics bays, originally designed for research, now grew essential food crops. Engineering teams worked in shifts to repair the damaged phase drive. Jack stood in the observation deck, watching the binary stars of Alpha Centauri A and B shimmer in the distance. Closer, the red dwarf Proxima Centauri glowed dimly, its planetary system now their destination. The scans are complete, Anna said, joining him at the viewport. Proxima B shows promising results. Thin atmosphere but evidence of subsurface water. We could establish a temporary base there while we complete repairs. Jack nodded. What about signs of the Vex? Nothing so far. If they have a presence in this system, they're keeping it well hidden. The door to the observation deck slid open, and Dr. Marcus entered, his expression animated. Commander, we've had a breakthrough with the phase drive. Good news? Jack asked, turning from the viewport. The crystal matrices weren't simply damaged, they've evolved, Marcus explained, bringing up a holographic display. The jump altered their molecular structure. They're more stable now, more efficient. If we can manufacture additional matrices, with this new configuration, we might achieve controlled jumps. Hope flickered in Jack's chest for the first time in weeks. Materials? That's where it gets complicated, Marcus admitted. We need specific rare elements. Our scans show deposits on Proxima B, but extraction won't be easy. Jack made his decision. Prepare a landing party. I'll lead the expedition myself. 2 days later, Jack stood in the shuttle bay with a team of 12 specialists, geologists, engineers, and security personnel. The expedition shuttle, sleek and black like its mother ship, was loaded with mining equipment and survival gear. Remember, we need those materials, Jack addressed the team. But your safety comes first. We don't know what we'll find down there. The shuttle departed the black ship, descending through the thin atmosphere of Proxima B. The planet's surface came into view, a rugged landscape of rust-colored rocks and deep crevasses under the crimson light of the dwarf star. Readings show an oxygen content of only 9%, reported geologist Maya Patel. We'll need the environmental suits at all times. The shuttle touched down on a flat plateau near the coordinates, where their scans had detected the richest mineral deposits. As the team disembarked, Jack took in the alien landscape. The first human to set foot on a planet outside the Sol system. Spread out in teams of 2, he ordered. Stay within communication range. The expedition progressed efficiently, establishing a base camp and beginning preliminary mining operations. By the 3rd day, they had extracted nearly half the required materials. Jack felt a growing optimism about their chances of repairing the ship and eventually returning to the Sol system. That optimism shattered on the 4th day. Commander, Maya called over the comm, her voice tight with alarm. You need to see this. Jack followed her coordinates to a narrow ravine half a kilometer from base camp. Maya stood at the edge, pointing down into the shadows. I detected anomalous energy readings from this location, she explained. So I sent a probe down. The probe's footage displayed on their suit interfaces showed something impossible. A structure embedded in the ravine wall, clearly artificial with smooth lines and precise angles that nature couldn't create. Is it Vex? Jack asked, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. I don't think so, Maya replied. The architecture doesn't match anything in our Vex database. This is something else. They descended carefully into the ravine, approaching the structure. Up close, it appeared to be an entrance of some kind. A doorway recessed into the rock face, covered with symbols unlike any human language or the crystalline patterns associated with Vex technology. The material is unlike anything I've seen, Maya said, scanning the door. It's absorbing my scanner's energy, almost like it's waking up. As if responding to her words, the symbols began to glow with a soft blue light. The door shuddered, dust and small rocks falling as mechanisms that might have lain dormant for millennia activated. "Everyone back," Jack ordered, raising his weapon. The team retreated several meters as the ancient door slowly slid open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Cold air rushed out, carrying a metallic scent. "Should we explore it?" Maya asked, scientific curiosity warring with caution. Jack hesitated. Their mission was to collect materials, not investigate alien ruins. But the technology inside could potentially help them against the Vex. "We proceed with extreme caution," he decided. "Maya, continue scanning. Tom, set up perimeter sensors to warn us if anything approaches from outside." They entered the corridor, helmet lights illuminating walls covered with the same strange symbols. The passage descended deeper into the planet, eventually opening into a vast chamber that took their breath away. At the center stood a pillar of what appeared to be liquid metal, suspended in defiance of gravity, pulsing with gentle blue light. Around it, consoles and equipment of obvious technological origin sat untouched, covered in a fine layer of dust. "This is incredible," Maya whispered. "Carbon dating places this site at over 50,000 years old." Jack approached one of the consoles cautiously. "Can you determine its purpose?" Before Maya could respond, the liquid metal pillar pulsed brighter, and a voice spoke, not in sound waves but directly into their minds. "Visitors. After so long. The Watchers return." Jack raised his hand, signaling the team to freeze. "We are humans from the planet Earth." He projected his thoughts clearly, unsure if the entity could understand. The liquid metal pillar rippled, its blue light pulsating in rhythm like a heartbeat. "Not Watchers. Different. But similar neural patterns. Interesting." Maya's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. "What are you?" she asked aloud. "I am Guardian. Sentinel. Memory. The last echo of the architects." The mental voice seemed to grow stronger, more defined. "You flee from the Harvesters. I sense their touch upon your memories." The Harvesters. Jack exchanged glances with Maya. "Do you mean the Vex?" The pillar shimmered, projecting images into their minds. Crystalline, ships identical to those that had attacked Earth. "They have many names across many cycles. They consume, they adapt, they persist. My creators fought them long ago." "Who were your creators?" Maya asked. "The architects? Gone now. Scattered or ascended. They seeded this galaxy with outposts like this one, containing knowledge and warnings." The entity paused, as if considering. "Your vessel carries technology similar to architect principles. How did you acquire this?" Jack hesitated before answering. "We reverse-engineered it from a crashed ship we found on our world." The pillar's light intensified. "An architect scout ship. This explains much. You have barely harnessed its potential. Your phase jump was crude, dangerous. Can you help us?" Jack asked directly. "The Vex, the Harvesters, have likely conquered our homeworld by now. We're trying to repair our ship to return and help our people." The entity was silent for several moments. "I was created to preserve knowledge and assist those who might stand against the Harvesters. It has been 53,000 years since my last activation. My purpose remains." The liquid metal began to flow away from the pillar, separating into smaller streams that moved with purposeful intelligence toward different consoles around the chamber. Equipment that had lain dormant for millennia hummed to life. "Your phase drive design is flawed. It lacks stability matrices and dimensional anchors. I will provide schematics for proper implementation." One of the security officers, Lisa Wright, moved closer to Jack. "Sir, should we trust this thing? We don't know its motivations." "We don't have many alternatives," Jack replied quietly. "And if it wanted to harm us, I suspect it could have done so already." The entity continued, apparently hearing their exchange. "Trust is irrelevant. Logic is sufficient. The Harvesters threaten all intelligent life. My function is to preserve life against them. Simple equation." Over the next hours, the entity, which they continued to call Guardian for simplicity, shared technical specifications that left Dr. Marcus and the engineering team in awe when transmitted back to the Black Ship. The schematics detailed improvements not just for the phase drive, but for weapon systems, shielding technology, and even modifications to the neural interface. This is generations beyond what we could develop ourselves. Dr. Marcus's excited voice came through the comm. With these specifications, the Black Ship would be more than a match for individual Vex vessels. As the data transfer continued, Jack explored the chamber further, finding rooms branching off the main chamber. Laboratories, living quarters, and what appeared to be a hangar, though any vessels it might have once held were long gone. Guardian, Jack addressed the entity. You said your creators fought the Harvesters. Did they win? Neither victory nor defeat. Stalemate. The architects realized they could not destroy the Harvesters completely. Too numerous, too adaptive. Instead, they implemented Protocol Ascension, evolving beyond physical form. Some remained as guardians, like myself, maintaining outposts and assisting younger species. Are there more outposts like this one? Maya asked. Many throughout this galaxy. A network, some active, some dormant. This outpost has maintained minimal functions, conserving energy. Jack considered this information carefully. Could you help us contact these other outposts? Create an alliance against the Vex? The liquid metal rippled in what might have been consideration. Possible. The communication network has degraded over millennia, but parts remain functional. However, reactivation would alert the Harvesters. They monitor for architect signals. This gave Jack pause. They had barely escaped, the Vex once. Attracting their attention again before the Black Ship was fully prepared would be disastrous. We need to prioritize, he decided. First, we complete the repairs to our ship using your specifications. Then we attempt a controlled return to our home system to assess the situation. After that, we can consider reaching out to other outposts. Logical progression, Guardian agreed. I can provide more than specifications. This facility contains manufacturing capabilities and raw materials. With your permission, I will begin production of key components. Jack nodded. Thank you. As the entity set the ancient facility into motion, Jack stepped aside to contact the Black Ship. Anna, prepare the crew for a change in plans. We're going to be down here longer than expected, but we've found something that changes everything. For the first time since Earth fell under attack, Jack felt the balance shifting. Humanity had been on the defensive, running blindly from an overwhelming force. Now, armed with the knowledge of an ancient civilization that had fought the Vex to a standstill, they had a chance, not just to survive, but to fight back. As Guardian's machinery hummed to life around them, Jack watched the liquid metal entity direct operations with incredible precision. He couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the architects had left scattered among the stars, and whether humanity might be worthy inheritors of their legacy. 2 months after discovering Guardian's outpost, the Black Ship hovered in orbit, around Proxima b, transformed. Its obsidian hull now featured intricate patterns that pulsed with subtle blue energy, architect modifications that enhanced its structural integrity and defensive capabilities. The phase drive had been completely rebuilt according to Guardian's specifications, with proper dimensional anchors to prevent the wild jumps that had stranded them initially. On the bridge, Jack stood at the captain's platform, feeling the ship's systems through the improved neural interface. The connection was clearer now, more intuitive, allowing him to perceive the ship's status with unprecedented detail. Final systems check complete, Anna reported. All modifications are functioning. At optimal parameters, we're ready for the jump back to Sol. Dr. Marcus approached, carrying a small, crystalline device. Guardian sent this up with the last shuttle. It's a compressed data core containing the complete archives of architect knowledge about the Harvesters. Jack accepted the device, turning it over in his hands. Did Guardian explain why it's not coming with us? It said its purpose is to maintain the outpost, Marcus replied. But I think there's more to it. The entity seems bound to this location, perhaps as a safeguard against its capture by the Vex. The outpost had proven invaluable. Not only had it provided the technological knowledge to upgrade the Black Ship, but it had also revealed crucial information about their enemy. The Vex, or Harvesters as Guardian called them, were not a single species but a collective intelligence that had evolved over millions of years, assimilating technologies and biological traits from thousands of conquered civilizations. All crew to jump stations, Jack announced shipwide. Prepare for phase transition in 10 minutes. As the crew secured themselves for the jump, Jack held a final communication with Guardian. We've set the jump coordinates for the outer edge of the Sol system, he explained. We'll assess the situation before making our presence known. Prudent, Guardian's thoughts reached him across the vacuum. The harvesters typically establish complete control within one planetary cycle. Their harvest patterns suggest they will maintain presence for resource extraction before moving on. And the weapon systems you've helped us develop, will they be enough? Against individual harvester vessels, yes. Against their fleet, no. Your advantage is surprise and maneuverability. Strike precisely, then relocate. Avoid prolonged engagement. Jack nodded. Thank you for everything, Guardian. If we survive this, we'll return. I will maintain this outpost. If you succeed in liberating your system, the network awaits activation. The architects planned for this moment, when a new species would rise to challenge the harvesters. The communication ended as the phase drive began its power-up sequence. Jack focused his attention on the imminent jump. Phase transition in 30 seconds, Anna announced. Unlike their first chaotic jump, this one had been meticulously calculated. The improved drive would carry them precisely to the coordinates they had selected. The orbit of Neptune, far enough from Earth to avoid immediate detection, but close enough to assess the situation. 10 seconds. Phase matrix stable. Dimensional. Anchors locked. The ship hummed as energy coursed through its systems. Jack closed his eyes, feeling the fabric of space-time begin to bend around them. 3, 2, 1. Phase shift initiated. Reality folded. The sensation was different this time. Controlled. Almost elegant. A momentary pressure. A flash of blue light behind closed eyelids. And then they were through. Jack opened his eyes to see the familiar configuration of the Sol system's outer planets. Neptune's blue disk hung in the distance. Jump successful, Anna confirmed, relief evident in her voice. Position exactly as calculated. All systems nominal. Begin passive scanning, Jack ordered. Let's see what we're dealing with. The black ship's sensors, enhanced with architect technology, reached out across the solar system, gathering data without emitting detectable signals. The information that flowed back painted a grim picture. Vex ships surrounded Earth and Mars, harvester vessels the size of small moons extracting resources from both planets. The lunar colonies had been completely dismantled, their materials absorbed into the alien fleet. Life signs? Jack asked, dreading the answer. Tom worked his console, filtering the incoming data. Detecting human biosignatures on Earth, significantly reduced from pre-invasion population. Concentrated in what appear to be processing facilities. Mars colony. Minimal life signs. Jack's jaw tightened. The Vex hadn't immediately exterminated humanity. They were processing them methodically, extracting whatever they found valuable, before moving on. It was somehow more horrifying than simple destruction. There's something else, Anna said suddenly. Intermittent energy signatures consistent with human military technology. Guerrilla resistance in the asteroid belt, primarily around Ceres. A spark of hope ignited in Jack's chest. Can we establish secure communication? Risky, Tom warned. Any transmission could alert the Vex to our presence. What about using the architect protocols? Jack suggested. Guardian mentioned their communication methods were different from conventional systems. Dr. Marcus considered this. The data core might contain encryption methods the Vex wouldn't immediately recognize. We could attempt a narrow beam transmission to Ceres, disguised as background radiation. Jack made his decision. Do it. If there are humans still fighting out there, they need to know they're not alone. Hours later, after careful preparation, the black ship sent its message. A simple code that any human military unit would recognize, embedded within a pattern that mimicked natural stellar phenomena. Then they waited, maintaining their position, in Neptune's shadow. 3 days passed before they received a response. Similarly disguised, but unmistakably human in origin. Coordinates for a rendezvous point deep within the asteroid belt, followed by a single phrase, The Resistance lives. As the black ship prepared for a short-range phase jump to the coordinates, Jack addressed the crew. We left Earth believing we might be the last free humans in existence. Now we know others survive, fighting against overwhelming odds. With what we've learned from the architects, we can transform that fight. He held up Guardian's data core. The Vex believe they're harvesting a primitive species barely worth their attention. They don't realize they've encountered the inheritors of the architects, the one civilization that ever fought them to a standstill. For the first time since the invasion, the bridge crew allowed themselves genuine smiles. The black ship might have risen in desperation, but it would return in triumph, carrying not just advanced technology, but something the Vex could never understand. Hope. The black ship emerged from its phase jump deep within the asteroid belt. Before them floated Ceres, its surface dotted with mining facilities that had once been the hub of human solar system industry. Now, many of those facilities lay dark and damaged, but sensors detected activity in the dwarf planet's interior. Human activity. We're being scanned, Anna reported. Multiple targeting systems locked onto us. Hold position, Jack ordered. Broadcast identification protocols on the agreed frequency. Tom transmitted their identification signal. Long moments passed before a response came through. A voice transmission, heavily encrypted. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Reyes studied. Him for a long moment. I hope you're right, because we're running out of time and options. Part 6 over the next 2 weeks. The Resistance base transformed from a defensive holdout to a hive of activity centered around the black ship. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to understand and replicate the architect technology, while military strategists developed new tactics based on the Vex weaknesses identified in Guardian's data. Jack stood in the observation deck overlooking the main hangar, watching as Resistance technicians swarmed over 3 fighter craft. The beginning of what they hoped would become a fleet incorporating architect principles. The phase drive miniaturization is proving challenging, Dr. Marcus said, joining him at the viewport. But Dr. Khatri's team has made remarkable progress with the weapon systems. The prototypes are exceeding all expectations. Time frame? Jack asked. 4 days until the first fighter is combat ready. 2 weeks for all 3. The problem isn't understanding the technology. It's manufacturing the components with our limited resources. Jack nodded, turning his attention to a holographic display, showing the current positions of Vex vessels throughout the solar system. Their harvesting operation on Earth continued methodically, while Mars was already showing signs of resource depletion. Soon, the aliens would expand their attention to the asteroid belt. We need to accelerate the timeline, Jack decided. The longer we wait, the more likely they'll detect this base. As if summoned by his concerns, Admiral Reyes entered the observation deck, her expression grim. We have a problem. Long-range sensors have detected a Vex scout ship changing course toward the outer belt. Random patrol or targeted search, we can't be sure, but it's heading in this direction. Jack studied the projected course. Time to intercept? 18 hours, give or take. Too many of our systems are powered up right now. We're putting out more electromagnetic and gravitational signatures than usual. If that scout gets within scanning range, then we need to eliminate it before that happens, Jack concluded, without alerting the main fleet. Reyes frowned. The black ship is our most advanced vessel, but using it would reveal our technological leap forward before we're ready. Jack considered their options. What about your conventional fighters? Underpowered against even a Vex scout, Reyes replied. We've tried direct engagement before. The losses were substantial. What if we combine approaches? Jack suggested. Your fighters as distraction, while the black ship uses its phase technology for a surprise attack? We can modify our appearance to disguise the architect enhancements. The plan came together quickly. 3 Resistance fighters would engage the Vex scout, appearing to be a standard patrol that had been caught off guard. As the scout focused on them, the black ship would execute a micro-phase jump, appearing directly behind the alien vessel, with weapons charged. 6 hours later, Jack stood on the bridge of the black ship as it moved silently away from the Resistance base, its enhanced systems dampened to avoid detection. Anna, Tom, and a skeleton crew operated the essential stations, while engineers made final adjustments to the camouflage systems. Resistance fighters launching, Anna reported as 3 small craft emerged from the concealed base. Begin countdown to phase jump, Jack ordered. Coordinate with fighter squadron timing. The resistance vessels accelerated toward the approaching Vex scout, broadcasting routine communication chatter to sell the illusion of a normal patrol. The plan hinged on the Vex believing they had encountered a standard human defense unit rather than a deliberate ambush. Vex scout altering course. To intercept fighters, Tom announced. They've taken the bait. Jack watched through the tactical display as the resistance fighters executed a convincing show of surprise, breaking formation and taking evasive maneuvers as the Vex scout opened fire. Blue energy beams cut through space, narrowly missing the human vessels. Phase drive at full power, Anna reported. Jump coordinates locked. Ready on your command. Execute jump, Jack ordered. The familiar sensation of reality folding washed over the bridge crew as the black ship disappeared from its position and reappeared instantly behind the Vex scout. Before the alien vessel could react to their presence, Jack activated the architect weapon systems. A pulse of concentrated energy, invisible to conventional sensors but devastating to Vex technology, struck the scout ship directly in its propulsion section. The crystalline structure fractured, energy systems cascading into failure as the vessel lost power. Direct hit, Tom confirmed. Vex ship disabled but intact. No distress signals detected. The resistance fighters, seeing their opportunity, swarmed. The crippled scout attaching magnetic grapples to its hull. This had been Admiral Reyes's addition to the plan, not just destroying the scout, but capturing it for study. Phase jump successful, weapons effective, Anna reported. Camouflage systems maintained integrity throughout the engagement, Jack allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Their first test of architect technology against the Vex had been successful. Moreover, they had acquired a prize that could accelerate their understanding of the enemy. Begin recovery operations, he ordered. Let's get that scout back to base before the main fleet misses it. The operation to tow the disabled Vex vessel back to the resistance base was painstaking and tense. At any moment, they expected the main Vex fleet to investigate the scout's disappearance. But hours passed without alien reinforcements appearing, suggesting their communications had been successfully neutralized. Once safely docked in a segregated section of the base, teams of scientists in protective gear began the delicate process of examining the captured vessel. Jack and Admiral Reyes observed from behind a containment field. The design is even more advanced than our intelligence suggested, Reyes noted. Look at how the crystalline structure integrates with biological components. Jack studied the exposed sections of the scout ship. Guardian warned us about this. The Vex incorporate biological elements from harvested species into their technology. Those neural-like filaments probably came from a civilization they conquered centuries ago. Dr. Khatri approached from the examination area, removing her protective helmet. You need to see this, she said, her voice tight with urgency. We've accessed what appears to be their equivalent of a data core. The information they extracted was displayed on a secure terminal. Jack and Admiral Reyes leaned forward, eyes widening as they processed what they were seeing. That's a countdown, Reyes realized first. 5 days from now. A countdown to what? Jack asked, though he already suspected the answer. Dr. Khatri's expression was grave. Based on the associated data, it appears to be the final phase of their harvest operation. After completing resource extraction from Mars, they plan to begin systematic dismantling of Earth's core for its heavy elements. The process will render the planet uninhabitable. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They had assumed they had months, perhaps years before the Vex completed their harvest. Instead, they had less than a week before Earth was destroyed completely. We need to accelerate everything, Jack said, breaking the silence. Forget the fighter prototypes. We need to focus all resources on upgrading your capital ships with architect technology. Even with everyone working around the clock, we can't possibly prepare a fleet in 5 days, Reyes objected. Then we don't use a fleet, Jack decided. We use what we have, the black ship, modified with everything we've learned from Guardian, and from this captured scout. Against the entire Vex armada? That's suicide. Jack's expression hardened with determination. Not if we target their command structure. Guardian's data included analysis of Vex fleet organization. They operate as a collective, but there's always a central processing node, a lead ship that coordinates the harvest operation. And you think the black ship can eliminate this node? With the right modifications and approach, yes. Jack turned to Dr. Khatri. The Vex neural technology you mentioned they're studying, our brain-computer interfaces. Does the data core indicate how far they've progressed? Dr. Khatri consulted her notes. They appear fascinated by our neural mapping capabilities, but haven't fully integrated them. The data suggests they're still in the analysis phase. That's our advantage, Jack explained. The architect neural interface on the black ship is generations beyond what the Vex have seen from us. If we can get close enough to their command node, we might be able to establish a connection and introduce a disruptive pattern. Something Guardian called a consciousness cascade. Admiral Reyes looked skeptical. You're suggesting we hack the Vex? In a manner of speaking, Jack confirmed. But it requires getting the black ship into direct contact with their command vessel. A suicide mission by any conventional standard. Reyes was silent for a long moment, weighing their options, which were few. Finally, she nodded. I've sent too many good people on suicide missions since this war began. This time I want to be part of it. I'm coming with you on the black ship. Jack started to object, but Reyes cut him off. This isn't negotiable, Commander. If we're making our final stand for Earth, I intend to be there. Besides, you'll need every experienced officer you can get. As they left the examination area to begin preparations, Jack felt the weight of what they were about to attempt. 5 days to modify the black ship with everything they'd learned, then a direct assault on the heart of the Vex fleet. The odds were astronomical. Yet for the first time since the invasion, they had a plan that was more than mere survival, a chance to strike back and potentially save what remained of humanity on Earth. The black ship had risen once in desperate escape. Now it would rise again in desperate attack. The final modifications to the black ship were completed with just 12 hours to spare before the Vex would begin Earth's dismantling. The vessel barely resembled its original form. Its hull now incorporated crystalline elements harvested from the captured scout ship, enhancing its phase drive capabilities. The neural interface had been expanded to accommodate multiple operators simultaneously. Jack, Admiral Reyes, and 3 specialists who would coordinate different aspects of the assault. In the hangar bay, the resistance had gathered to witness the departure. 300 men and women who represented perhaps the last organized military force humanity possessed. Jack stood before them, keenly aware that this might be their final mission. You all know what's at stake. In 12 hours, the Vex begin, the final phase of their harvest. Earth will be broken apart for its resources, and what remains of humanity there will be lost forever. He gestured to the black ship behind him. This vessel represents everything we've learned. Human ingenuity combined with architect knowledge. But more importantly, it carries something the Vex cannot comprehend. Our refusal to accept extinction. Admiral Reyes stepped forward. The mission parameters are clear. We will phase jump to the edge of Earth orbit, identify the Vex command node, and execute a direct neural interface attack using the consciousness cascade pattern. Support vessels will provide distraction as needed. Make no mistake, Jack continued. This is a high-risk operation with minimal chance of survival for the primary strike team. But even if we fall, the technology and knowledge we've gathered is preserved here, in your hands. Guardian's outpost remains in the Alpha Centauri system. The Architect network awaits activation. Humanity has a future, whether we succeed today or not. As the crew boarded the black ship, Jack paused for a final moment, looking back at the resistance fighters who would remain behind. If the mission failed, they would be humanity's last hope. A few hundred people hiding in the asteroid belt while their homeworld was destroyed. Ready to make history? Admiral Reyes asked, joining him at the airlock. One way or another, Jack replied with a grim smile. The black ship departed the asteroid base with minimal propulsion, maintaining stealth protocols until reaching the designated jump point beyond Ceres. 3 support vessels, the only other ships the Resistance could spare, accompanied them, each retrofitted with limited architect technology. Jump coordinates locked, Anna announced from the navigation station. Earth orbit, dark side approach. We'll emerge behind their sensor network if calculations are correct. All crews secure for phase transition, Jack ordered, taking his position on the enhanced captain's platform. The neural interface activated, connecting his consciousness not just to the ship, but to the other 4 operators, Reyes, Anna, Tom, and Dr. Marcus. Their minds joined in a complex network, each handling different aspects of the ship's systems. Phase jump in 3, 2, 1. Reality folded around them more smoothly than ever before, the improved drive performing flawlessly. When they emerged, the blue-green sphere of Earth filled their viewport, still recognizable despite the Vex structures now encircling it like parasitic growths. Stealth systems holding, Tom reported, his thoughts flowing directly into the group consciousness. No indication they've detected us. Through the enhanced sensors, they surveyed the Vex fleet. Dozens of crystalline vessels surrounded Earth, systematically extracting resources. Larger ships hovered near the poles, extending tendrils down into the atmosphere. The sight filled them all with cold fury. Analyzing fleet patterns, Admiral Reyes thought, her military experience feeding into the ship's tactical systems. That formation is consistent with Guardian's data on command structures. She highlighted a cluster of 5 ships near the equator. Unlike the others, these maintained a precise geometric arrangement, with a larger vessel at the center. Energy patterns flowed between them in rhythmic pulses. That's our target, Jack confirmed. The center ship coordinates the entire harvesting operation. They formulated their approach using the neural link, strategies forming and reforming at the speed of thought. The 3 support vessels would attack different harvester ships, creating the impression of a desperate, conventional assault. Meanwhile, the black ship would utilize its phase drive for a precision jump directly alongside the command node. Support vessels moving into position, Anna reported, initiating countdown for coordinated attack. Jack felt the tension building. Throughout the ship, everything depended on precise timing and the element of surprise. Once they revealed themselves, they would have only minutes before the full might of the Vex fleet converged on their position. Attack commencing in 3, 2, 1. The support vessels broke stealth simultaneously, weapons firing at 3 separate Vex harvesters. The alien ships, caught by surprise, responded slowly at first, then with increasing coordination as their collective consciousness processed the threat. Phase drive charged, Tom announced. Ready for micro jump on your command. Jack gave the order through the neural interface, and the black ship disappeared from its hiding position, reappearing instantaneously less than a kilometer from the Vex command node. At such close range, the alien vessel was enormous. A crystalline structure, the size of a small city, pulsing with blue-white energy. Initiating consciousness cascade, Dr. Marcus thought, activating the specialized program they had developed from Guardian's data. The black ship extended what appeared to be tendrils of light, actually focused beams of the same neural energy that powered their interface. These connected with the crystalline surface of the Vex command node, establishing a bridge between the human neural network and the alien collective consciousness. The sensation was indescribable. Jack felt his mind expand beyond the confines of the ship, touching something vast and utterly alien, the Vex hive mind. Millions of interconnected intelligences functioning as one organism, processing data at unimaginable speeds. The experience was overwhelming, threatening to drown his individual consciousness. Hold formation, Admiral Reyes commanded through the link, her military discipline providing an anchor. Remember the pattern. Together, the 5 linked humans projected the consciousness cascade, not just a program or virus, but a conceptual paradox designed by the architects specifically to disrupt the Vex neural network. It was a philosophical weapon, as much as a technological one, introducing contradictions that the logical Vex mind couldn't resolve. The effect was immediate. The command node's energy patterns became erratic, the smooth flow between the 5 Vex ships breaking down into chaotic pulses. Around Earth, harvester vessels began to lose coordination, some drifting from their positions, while others shut down completely. It's working, Anna thought triumphantly. Fleet coordination is collapsing, but their victory was short-lived. The Vex collective, vaster than they had anticipated, began adapting to the cascade. New patterns emerged, working to isolate and contain the disruption. They're learning, Dr. Marcus warned, adapting faster than Guardian predicted. Jack felt the Vex consciousness pushing back against their intrusion, probing the human neural network with increasing precision. Pain lanced through his mind as alien thoughts attempted to invade the interface. "We need more power to the cascade," he ordered, pushing the black ship's systems beyond their designed limits. Admiral Reyes made a decision. Divert power from defensive systems. Everything into the cascade. As shield power dropped, the black ship became vulnerable. The Vex ships that still maintained functionality began to converge on their position, energy weapons charging. "Support. Vessels under heavy fire," Tom reported. 2 have sustained critical damage. The third is attempting to draw fire away from our position. Through the neural interface, Jack sensed the cascade progressing deeper into the Vex network, spreading from the command node to connected vessels. But it wasn't happening fast enough. At their current rate, the black ship would be destroyed before the disruption reached critical mass. "There's only one way to ensure complete dispersion," Dr. Marcus thought, the idea forming in all their minds simultaneously. Jack understood immediately. The phase drive core. If we detonate it while connected to their network, the cascade would propagate through their entire fleet instantly, Reyes finished, but we'd never survive the explosion. The decision hung between them for a fraction of a second, though in the accelerated consciousness of the neural interface, it felt much longer. 5 minds considering the ultimate sacrifice. "Prepare the support vessels for emergency phase jump to the rendezvous coordinates," Jack ordered. "Transmit all data we've gathered back to the resistance base." "Jack, there must be another way," Anna protested. "There isn't," Admiral Reyes thought firmly. "This is our one chance to save Earth. The Resistance has Guardian's knowledge now. Humanity will rebuild." As the Vex ships closed in, weapons fire beginning to impact their weakened shields, Jack initiated the phase drive overload sequence. The ship's core began to build energy far beyond safe parameters. The excess power feeding directly into the neural connection with the Vex command node. "Connection stable," Dr. Marcus reported. "Cascade pattern at maximum amplitude. The detonation will propagate through their entire network." "Remaining support vessel clear of the blast radius," Tom added. "Transmitting final data package now." Jack looked out at Earth through the viewport one last time. From here, he could see both the devastation the Vex had wrought and the blue oceans and green continents that still remained. Home. "It's been an honor," Admiral Reyes thought, her consciousness steady and resolved beside his. "For humanity," Jack responded, and activated the final sequence. The black ship's phase drive reached critical overload, energy building to impossible levels. But instead of exploding outward, the blast was channeled directly into the neural connection with the Vex command node. The consciousness cascade, amplified 1,000-fold by the detonation, propagated through the alien network at faster-than-light speeds. Throughout Earth orbit, Vex vessels began to shut down simultaneously, their crystalline structures growing dark as the cascade disrupted their core programming. The command node itself fractured, massive fragments drifting apart as internal systems failed catastrophically. Aboard the black ship, the neural interface saved the 5 operators from experiencing the moment of destruction. Their connected consciousness moved through the ship's systems at the speed of thought, outpacing the physical explosion that consumed the vessel seconds later. In their final shared moments, they witnessed the cascade's effect spreading throughout the solar system. Vex ships around Mars going dark, harvesters near Venus shutting down. The victory they had sacrificed everything to achieve. 3 years later, Earth was healing. The Vex harvesting had been stopped before irreparable damage occurred, though the scars of their occupation would remain for generations. Humanity had begun the slow process of rebuilding, guided by the technological knowledge salvaged from the Resistance base and Guardian's archives. In what had once been San Francisco, now a city of new construction alongside alien ruins, a memorial stood on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. 5 statues, Jack Reed, Admiral Helen Reyes, Anna Wilson, Tom Reeves, and Dr. Marcus Chen, faced the stars, commemorating the crew of the black ship. Below the statues, an inscription read, "They rose against impossible odds, so humanity might rise again." A young woman stood before the memorial, placing a small crystalline object at its base, a data core similar to the one Guardian had provided, but newer, created with the hybrid human architect technology that was transforming human civilization. "The network is active," she said to the statues. "Just as you hoped, we've made contact with 3 other outposts so far. Guardian sends its regards." She looked up at the evening sky, where the first stars were becoming visible. Among them was a new constellation of human vessels, the Black Fleet, ships built using the knowledge Jack Reed and his crew had sacrificed everything to preserve. The Vex would return someday. Guardian had been clear about that. The Harvesters never truly gave up, merely redirected their endless consumption elsewhere. But when they came back, they would find not the primitive civilization they had attempted to harvest, but the inheritors of the architects, humanity ascendant, prepared and waiting. The black ship had risen in desperation, fallen in sacrifice, and in its destruction, elevated humanity to the stars. Helen Reyes of the Earth Defense Fleet Remnant. Identify yourselves immediately. Jack activated the comm system. Admiral Reyes, this is Commander Jack Reed of the experimental vessel Black Ship. We escaped Earth during the initial invasion, and have returned with significant developments. A pause, then. Commander Reed, your vessel was reported destroyed during the lunar evacuation. All hands lost. Reports of our demise were greatly exaggerated, Jack replied, allowing himself a small smile. Request permission to dock and explain in person. What we've discovered changes everything about this war. Another long pause followed before Admiral Reyes responded. Follow the transmitted coordinates exactly. Any deviation will result in immediate defensive action. The black ship was guided to a concealed docking bay within a hollowed-out asteroid connected to Ceres by a series of tunnels. As they approached, Jack noticed the sophisticated camouflage systems that hid the resistance base from Vex detection. Impressive human ingenuity, though primitive compared to architect technology. A delegation awaited them in the docking bay. Armed, soldiers flanking a tall woman with steel-gray hair and the bearing of someone who had carried the weight of command through impossible circumstances. Admiral Reyes watched with undisguised amazement as the black ship settled into the bay, its alien-enhanced hull shimmering slightly as power systems cycled down. Jack led a small team to meet her, including Dr. Marcus, Anna, and Tom. As the airlock opened and they stepped out, the resistance fighters raised their weapons slightly. "At ease," Admiral Reyes ordered, stepping forward to inspect the newcomers. "Commander Reed, when your ship disappeared during the evacuation, we assumed the worst. We jumped farther than intended," Jack explained. "All the way to the Alpha Centauri system, but what we found there has given us a fighting chance against the Vex." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Follow me. Whatever you have to say should be heard by my full command staff." They were led through a network of tunnels into the heart of the resistance base. What had once been mining operations had been converted into a military headquarters. Hundreds of people moved purposefully through the facility. Soldiers, engineers, and civilians working together. Jack noticed the exhaustion in their faces, but also the stubborn determination. In a secure conference room, Admiral Reyes assembled her senior officers, a mixture of military personnel and civilian scientists who had managed to escape the initial invasion. "Begin at the beginning," Reyes instructed once they were seated. "What happened after you left lunar orbit?" Jack recounted their accidental jump to Alpha Centauri, the discovery of Guardian's outpost, and the technological advancements they had acquired. As Dr. Marcus displayed holographic representations of the architect technology they had integrated into the black ship, the room fell into stunned silence. "You're telling me you found the remains of an ancient civilization that fought these same aliens thousands of years ago?" Reyes finally asked, her voice carefully controlled. "Not remains," Jack corrected. "Guardian is still active, maintaining the outpost. And there are others like it throughout the galaxy, a network waiting to be reactivated." "If this technology is as advanced as you claim," said Colonel James Dawson, Reyes's tactical officer, "why did these architects not defeat the Vex completely?" "According to Guardian, the Vex, or Harvesters, are too numerous and adaptive for conventional victory," Jack explained. "The architects chose evolution over extinction, ascending beyond physical form while leaving behind resources for species like ours." "Convenient," muttered someone in the back of the room. Jack placed Guardian's data core on the conference table. "This contains everything we've learned. Technical specifications, Vex weaknesses, architect defense strategies. With it, we can transform the black ship from one vessel into a blueprint for a fleet." Admiral Reyes studied the crystalline device. "You understand my skepticism, Commander. You disappear for months, then return with miraculous technology from convenient allies. I understand completely, Jack acknowledged. That's why we brought this. He nodded to Tom, who activated a small projector. The hologram that appeared showed the Black Ship's weapon systems in action. Test firings conducted in the Proxima Centauri system that demonstrated capabilities far beyond any human technology. Energy beams that could slice through simulated Vex hull material like paper. Defensive shields that absorbed impacts that would have vaporized conventional armor. We don't ask you to take our word for it, Jack said. We offer proof. The Black Ship isn't just a refugee vessel anymore. It's a weapon designed specifically to fight the Vex, and we're offering it to the Resistance. Slowly, the atmosphere in the room changed from skepticism to cautious hope. Technical officers began asking detailed questions about the specifications. Military commanders considered tactical applications. For the first time, the Resistance was discussing offensive operations rather than merely survival. Admiral Reyes finally raised her hand for silence. If, and I stress, if, this technology is what you claim, integration will take time we may not have. The Vex have established processing centers across Earth and Mars. They're systematically extracting resources, including human resources. Jack nodded grimly. Guardian warned us about their harvesting patterns. They don't just take materials. They absorb genetic information, technology, even culture. Everything that might be useful. They've been particularly interested in our neural technology, added Dr. Eliza Khatri, the Resistance's chief scientist. Brain-computer interfaces, consciousness mapping, anything related to how human minds function. A cold realization settled over Jack. That's consistent with what Guardian told us. The Vex adapt by incorporating traits from species they harvest. Our neural capabilities might represent something new to them. Then we need to act before they complete their analysis, Reyes concluded. Commander Reed, I'm provisionally accepting your offer of alliance. Dr. Khatri will work with your team to verify and begin integration of this architect technology. As the meeting dispersed, Reyes held Jack back with a hand on his arm. When they were alone, her official demeanor softened slightly. Jack, if this is real, truly real, you've given us the first genuine hope since the invasion began. But if it's not, she left the threat unspoken. It's real, Admiral, Jack assured her, and it's just the beginning. The architects left outposts throughout the galaxy because they knew someday another species would need to stand against the Vex. I believe that's us, humanity's purpose in this fight.